Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast. We discuss news and politics. And we're live on YouTube and Twitch. You can find me, of course, Likely Alien. And yeah, I'm going to repeat myself based on the piece of content I made this morning because you know what I watched a bunch of content creators I made that I like talk to MAGA as a group of people, and they're lost. You're not changing their minds. They are not a growing population group. They're a dying one. They live fast and they die fast. They don't take in new information and make decisions based on that. They're set in their ways. But by the numbers, they're just not nearly as visible on social media. It's just a fact. A social media firm did an audit of all your favorite right-leaning content creators that we love to just talk about, um, and found that they buy their following, and it's mostly just bots. So if you are a creative person, okay, if you're a creative person and you're making content on the internet and you're talking to MAGA, you're talking to ghosts. You're not gonna, again, you're not going to change anyone's mind. They're a very small portion of the population. One of the things that I like to do is math. There are 335 million people in the United States, and less than 50 million of them voted for Donald Trump after you factor in all the cheating, and that's less. That's less than one out of every five Americans. It's probably more like the 90% number that we said. 90% of Americans didn't vote for this. I can promise you this. About 30, 33, 35 million people? Sure. Hmm. But the problem is people are afraid to create community. People are afraid to do what you're supposed to do when the authoritarian fascist dictatorship shows up. Create community, right? Find out who the enemy is, stop supporting them, create community. And what do people do? They refuse to support the good guys, and they keep looking for reasons to support the bad guys. Like Candace Owens, right? Swear to fucking God, every time that bitch says something remotely intelligible, I got 18 people blowing me up. What do you think? I ain't fucking paying attention to her. I ain't paying attention to her or Shapiro. You know who I ain't never heard talk in my life? Benny Johnson. You know why? Because I'm not an insufferable fucking twat. That's why. You identify who the fuck ass is and you go, you know what? I ain't got time for that. Your life is better. And the only time I gotta hear it is when somebody sends it to me and acts like it just because it fucking rhymed or some shit. I gotta hear it now? Look, Benny Johnson's a fucking transphobe. You know what's far more likely? He's in the closet. I'm done here. Are you done? Moving along. So, as I've said before, if you are a creative person and you're making content talking to MAGA, you might be out of your mind. You might have lost your shit. Your audience needs to be, I'm searching desperately for people that hear what I'm saying and the language that I'm using permeates your fucking brain hole and you go, oh, light bulb's on. Somebody's home. Yeah, I get it. I get exactly what the fuck is going on. I get what's happening here. A small group of people are making the rest of us suffer. And it's mostly billionaires. There's less than 1,000 of them. So to the other 8 billion motherfucking people on Earth, hey, A very small group of people are making the rest of us miserable. Do something about it. Instead of sing to them, which is what I keep seeing like people do. Why the fuck are you talking to MAGA? It's like you're too stupid to understand there's no one on the other side. That's a bot. You're arguing with a robot on the internet. I'm just asking you to talk to the people that you know that are there and support you and will work with you, and you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I never paid attention. I don't care. Listen to War while I share the show. Good morning. Zeke, Stacy, Bob, Angie, Val. Gab, Agent. Oh no, what? It's Thursday? Yeah. Terrific is too close to terrifying. I'm going to be real honest. Justice's waiting room. A daily podcast discussing news and politics is live on Twitch and YouTube. Morning. Yeah, I was gonna say it is pretty terrifying. Yeah, but I ain't trying to tell people to have a terrifying day. You know what I mean? Let's try some new hashtags. I mean, you got your obvious Free Palestine, Slava Ukraine. I want to put the UN is our ally. The president is compromat. I don't know. I just changed it up a little bit. Should I? Yeah, I should. I love hashtags. You know why I love hashtags? Because there's rules and I don't like to follow rules. Do you understand why I like hashtags now? Because it's like there is a way to do this. Uh huh. Yeah. Yeah. It's like I know I know what the thing to do is, but I'm not a serious person. Like, just not. I'm having to become I'm having to become that. My wife and I were stand-up comedians. That's what we do for fun is try and make each other laugh. Um, it's very difficult though, as someone with just a tinge. And yeah, God, get me off at fucking Twitter. And I'm so glad I'm here with you, because it keeps me from doom scrolling all these all these places, right? Like I'm not doom scrolling nearly as much. Okay, so here, get me off of the front page of Reddit. My God. All right. I think the story of the day is how Donald Trump's trying to withdraw from a bunch of shit, so it's not like I don't know. Okay. I'll even post the story first. This can be the first time we'll talk about that dipshit ass motherfucker first. Okay? Hey, the UN's our ally, withdrawing us from 66 international bodies on a random fucking midweek because it doesn't support American ideals is fucking stupid, yada yada, fuck him. Let's talk about Canada is going to open a consulate in Greenland. Fuck Donald Trump. This is my show. My ego is bigger here. We're moving on. We're going to talk about Canada. Fuck Donald Trump. Yeah. Well, I mean, I ain't nothing to look at, so. Norway stands firm with Denmark, warns the U.S. will violate a NATO pact. Oh, Canada. The EU says that Greenland belongs to its people and has full EU support. I hate Marco Rubio, bro. And also, I really don't like anybody that's in this regime. But I mean, kind of goes without saying. It really does go without saying. I don't even really have to say that. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Morning, everybody. Hope you're having a great week. An EU lawmaker is telling the EU to freeze the trade deal over these Greenland threats. Yeah, they're all compromised. There will be trials. They will be held accountable. Mark Carney's going to visit China next week. It's the first time that a Canadian Prime Minister has visited in 10 years. But yeah, I saw, what's that little twerp's name? Fuentes is only 5'3". Donald Trump's only 5'4". Stephen Miller's only 5'10", or 4'10", 4'9". I mean, it's coming up tough. Little Marco with the big ears. Ukraine has not received the new air defense systems from the U.S. So, did anyone expect Donald Trump to follow through? Come on. You expected this regime to sign an agreement and then live up to that? Trump is dictating policy to interim leadership of Venezuela after Maduro capture. Now, Venezuela's interim president maintains that she's in charge, right? As she should. And Donald Trump insists that he's telling her, I'm telling her what to do. We're running the country. Okay? Remember, smoke and mirrors. This is all about how it plays on TV. He's just got dementia. So he has to be convinced that he did shit. Probably pretty consistently has to be told, like, no, 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 you actually did that shit. And he's like, oh, fuck. Russian oil depot in Belgorod Oblast on fire after a Ukrainian drone attack. Yeah, probably. To answer your question, they probably did. As he should have been fired. Venezuela's interim leader sacks the general in charge of Maduro's guard. Yeah, buddy, you're getting fired, that's for sure. Javier Marcano Tabara has been sacked. Presidential Honor Guard is the military force which provides the bodyguards tasked with protecting the head of states, like the guy that's the head of the Secret Service, right? He got fired. I wonder what if he was compromised. I wonder if this was treason. Zelensky says the U.S. could target Kadyrov to pressure Putin, citing Maduro's operation. So again, I'm not, this is not good. This is not good. I am not for condoning and encouraging what Donald Trump did in terms of capturing Maduro. Because again, I believe he's compromised. That's a Russian ally. His general was fired days after his capture. A bunch of Cuban fighters were killed. What were they doing there? 4 outfit changes and his wife unscathed. Although they apparently blacked her fucking eye. And they hid that from the camera. How? There's a lot of ways you can bump your head. Putin establishes the Soviet Genocide Memorial Day, erasing Jewish victims of Nazis. Again, this is how they're provocative, right? He's gonna later today. He's gonna threaten nuclear war, right? This is a bored, dying man, Vladimir Putin. He's dying. He's bored. Fuck the Jews. That's where he's at. I'm telling you. You don't just you do this shit because you can't do anything. You do this shit because you're dying and you're bored and you're out of options. Your life is an abject failure. So you just become racist or anti-Semite or fucking sexist or homophobic or transphobic. And you know what's crazy? Everyone I've ever met that is a bigot is only ever around white people. Like, how would you know what those people are like if you have no connection to them at all? It's like you're an animal at the zoo, really. Because everybody else has been out here living their life. My whole life, I've had so many friends now that I think about it that were not white. And it's like I didn't even I never thought about that. Like real close friends, people that like were in my abode for years of my life. I never even thought about them. I'm like, oh, that was a black guy. Oops. Didn't even think about it. Wasn't even like that. You know? When I think about like the coworkers that I've had that have stuck it out and made it and made good money and done well and succeeded at every job I've ever had, people of color and women, who flies off the handle, can't handle the stress, doesn't isn't a good communicator, doesn't ask for help, isn't taking on instruction, washes out of every job, white boys. Like I'm sitting here thinking like I'm so good at what I do that I want to work for a union. But I'm a disabled veteran. My right arm's fucked up and I have PTSD real bad. I'd prefer to work from home and work in union recruiting. and getting people to join unions and take up skilled trades. I think is a very valuable. I think I'd be very valuable to the union. Um, I don't know if they pay people to do that. I'm just trying to think about how I can use my skills to help push forward. Again, I'm a syndicalist. I believe in the power of unions. I think that the path towards better leadership is electing people that are union representatives. You know what I'm saying? The UK supported the US mission to seize the Russian flagged oil tanker. The one that it took a week, 2 weeks. Holy shit. More than 2 weeks? They tracked a fucking sub. Anyone else getting notifications of their information being breached? Yeah, lately I have been getting notifications that I got my passwords are all unsecure. I got a notification this morning that someone's trying to get into my IG. Yeah, wild fucking times. The U.S. says it needs to control Venezuelan oil sales indefinitely to drive change. Yeah, and again, those could also be ploys to get you to log in. Think about what I've been telling people to do on our little meaningless little show every day. Hey, stop using meta tools. Facebook, Threads, IG, WhatsApp, Messenger, Twitter. Hey, stop using Amazon too. Delete all that shit from your phone. Syrian forces have destroyed over 300 homes, 300 Kurdish homes in Aleppo. The UN says a snowstorm has affected 158,000 people and they've all been displaced. Yeah, delete it off your phone. I mean, I still have too many apps on my phone and I need to get rid of them. But, like, if you don't use it, just get rid of it. I don't. The only time I even see Facebook or Twitter, you are watching me do it. And that's when I copy and paste the link, the good morning, Justice's waiting room is live or whatever. I post a show announcement, and that's all. I don't post content there. You know all the content you've ever seen on TikTok. I don't post it on Facebook. I don't doom scroll. One of my harshest realizations that I ever had to come to in my whole life. I went to school and studied social media, primarily Twitter, by the way. Um, and I fucking love Twitter. Okay. Um, the problem is that once, like Donald Trump got elected and shit started going haywire, what I had to stomach, and it's just like something you got to realize. Facebook is like 2 weeks behind current events. Sometimes, like, think about weather, for example. We don't got 2 weeks. It's here now. What's going on is happening now. And Facebook, it's like they're living in the past. Um, and it's by design. It's designed that way. We're sort of on the tip of the spear in terms of the news. We're seeing world news first. For Americans, 8 a.m. We're already looking at what has happened in the world in the last 24 hours. Who else is? Hamas has fired on IDF troops ahead of Rafah. A blatant violation of the ceasefire agreement. Notice that it doesn't say any IDF soldiers died. And then I guarantee you what we'll read is that a bunch of people died at the hands of the IDF in response to this shooting. Zelensky says Ukraine does not have clear security pledges from allies. Ukrainian president, this is from the BBC. European allies have not given him sound guarantees they will protect his country in the case of a new Russian aggression. World on fire, yeah. Partisans report Kursk communication node destroyed, cutting links for FSB and military units. Significant. The Ukrainian partisan movement of Atesh said one of its agents destroyed a communications tower in the Russian city of Kursk, disrupting links used by Russian military and security agencies. Our agent carried out a successful sabotage operation, destroying an important communications tower. Hey, fuck yeah. Israel never honored the ceasefire to begin with 420 dead, 1,200 injured, and the only people firing were Israel. Yeah, and also, like I just pointed out in that article, did you notice how the firing on IDF soldiers by Hamas terrorists, did you notice how in that article there were no KIAs? That's fucking crazy, bro. How do you all keep getting shot at and never die? And then justify the fucking wanton murder of people that you just get to throw around the fucking word terrorist. It's fucking insane, man. The Ukrainian army receives over 1,500 interceptor drones a day. To counter Russian kamikaze drones. You said I haven't been on Twitter since he bought it. He actually got my account banned before he bought it. I used to have a pretty sizable following for a random person from the Midwest. One day I logged on and all my posts were gone and all my followers were gone. Now, my posts came back, but my followers didn't. I was able to build it back up, but then I got hit again. See, the problem with Donald Trump being president is that other countries are picking up what he's putting down. And so India, they're putting out, hey, our economy is expected to grow like 7.4% despite, these looming trade uncertainties, right? So they don't know. Colombian minister urges defense against potential U.S. invasion. So Donald Trump's going to get Americans killed, you know? He kind of got away with one, capturing Maduro. Apparently, no Americans died. And again, that's what they'll tell you. They're fleeing Aleppo. They're warring while they can. They're being evil and awful while they can. Jesus. A safety review of a central Japanese nuclear power plant to be redone amid data fraud. Awesome. Somebody jacked up the data. Yeah, Donald Trump's tariffs are illegal. The president doesn't have the power of the purse, and therefore he cannot lay tariff. Highly transmissible flu strain, Super K. What the fuck is K? H3N2 subclade K. In Australia, 2,500 people. Hey, wear fucking mask. What the fuck are we? What are we talking about? An unseasonably high rate of infection for just the first week of January has been driven by a mutation of influenza A H3N2 as subclade known as subclade K, now colloquially referred to as Super K. First identified in September by scientists woohoo, as Melbourne Peters Doherty Institute for Infection and Immunity. Genetic changes have allowed the strain to spread rapidly, even as vaccines continue to protect against severe illness. Super K has now spread to more than 30 countries, according to data from the National Notifiable Disease Surveillance Systems. 284 influenza infections in Australia over the past 7 days had occurred in children aged 4 and younger. God damn. Professor Ian Barr, the Deputy Director of the World Health Organization, Collaborating Centre for Reference and Research on Influenza, told Guardian Australia that genetic mapping suggested Super K originated in insignificant numbers in the US mid-2025. The strain began appearing in Australia by August. By October, it had taken hold, and by mid-November, weekly emergency department presentations for influenza-like illness had spiked to more than 370 people in South Wales. So it's our fault. Super K is from here. I think that's great because we used to have Super Kmart. And what did you replace it with? Bombed out parking lots that no one ever filled. It's great. You know how many Kmarts I've seen torn down in my life? Yeah. Super. This is super flu. How do we all die? Argentina's central bank has taken out a $3 billion loan with international banks to cover its debt. Anybody want to guess where did H3N2 subclade K originate in the US? You're saying New York, June. It's a new variant of an always changing virus. Iran's rial has reached a new low amid protests and economic crisis. So, what I'm awful sad for are all the people that are gonna die for no goddamn reason. Just so 1,000 fucking people could get richer. Argentina is working to bring the security officer detained in Venezuela home. Nahul Gallo. The Palestinian embassy in the UK is officially inaugurated. How long until it's bombed? From Le Monde, which I believe is the world. One of my favorite beers, by the way. Fin du Monde. It's a it's a it's a triple, yeah. Just in case you ever wondered. Oh yeah, yeah. This is her. Le Fin du Monde. It means the end of the world. It's a beer. It's a triple blonde. It's there are two beers, actually. At least in my eyes. Three Floyd's Zombie Dust and Le Fin du Monde. Le Fin du Monde. Anyway. I only brought it up because Le Monde. Venezuela. PDVSA says oil supply negotiations with the U.S. are progressing. I just want to point out that that's not true. Like, the only people that believe that Venezuela has vast oil reserves are people that think, well, Nicolas Maduro's the president. He would know. Have you looked at presidents? They lie all the fucking time. You think maybe he did it to get rescued? Because he was being cooed? That's why they fired the leader of the Secret Service? Yeah, so I'm sure he's lying. South Korea's Lee says China is expected to remove part of disputed steel structures from overlapping waters in the Yellow Sea. Symbolic, not an awful um, show of peacekeeping. Reuters reporting Zambia has dropped its plan to extend the IMF loan program. Program was agreed to in 2022 to help Zambia restore debt sustainability after its default. Huh. It was a small amount of money. It was only like 145 million. It's just interesting. Yeah, I like Fat Tire. I haven't drank beer. So there's two stories about the IMF. And the country's reliance on the International Monetary Fund. Interesting. See if we're missing anything. Well, to the surprise of no one, the Ukrainian paratroopers crushed Russian assault near Pokrovsk. Oh, for fuck's sake, why won't he let it go? Alright. 500% tariffs for India and China? Oh no. Trump clears the Russia sanctions bill. Uh oh. U.S. President Donald Trump, who has fucking dementia and forgot that he last week was saying he didn't want additional sanctions on Russia. U.S. President Donald Trump has approved a new bill that allows massive duties on countries that import Russian petroleum products. The bill, Sanctioning Russia Act of 2025, threatens at least 500% tariffs on countries that knowingly engage in the exchange. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham said the bill, which is now headed for bipartisan approval, aims to punish nations who buy cheap Russian oil, a move that could directly impact India's energy imports and further strain its trade ties with Washington. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good, 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 good. Love to see it. Now, why not on Russia? Why on India and China? Because Donald Trump is a racist. Don't ever forget that. Crush, you said that, and every time I say Pokrovsk in my brain, I'm like, Pop Rocks? It's so weird. Why would you name it that? Right, I want to make sure the Colombian president has spoken no more than twice and talked about how uh, we're going to defend ourselves against the U.S. invasion. Donald Trump has invited the Colombian president to the White House so he can stunt on him. Apparently, that's what he's going to do. Have like a military flyover and shit. Oh, Russia says foreign troops. Here's Reuters. Russia says foreign troops in Ukraine would be targets after the UK and France pledge post ceasefire deployments. Of course, they're targets. It's a war. Well, what the fuck? Anyway, we're switching over. Okay. Federal law enforcement. An ICE agent murdered a white lady. Didn't even check if she was MAGA. Just it apparently there was a child in the car. Apparently, she was in front of her own home. Apparently, she wasn't like a provocateur or anything. She was really just trying to protect her neighbors. And in fact, she was trying to drive away, and she didn't run anyone over. You can see that his feet were clear of the vehicle by at least a couple feet, and then you can see that she was straight up fucking murdered. And you can see the guy's face too. Yeah, in cold blood. Mm-hmm. Yep. That is murder in cold blood. It's Donald Trump and Kristi Noem's fault. Hold them accountable. Job openings slide to the second lowest level in 5 years as hiring remains sluggish. I want to remind you, yes, Kristi Noem shot her dog. Fuck her and anything that comes out of her mouth. Federal Aviation Notice warned of slackline before deadly helicopter crash in Arizona. Federal aviation records show that a week before a fatal helicopter crash, a notice was issued that a tightrope would be stretched across a mountainous area of Arizona, providing a warning for pilots to watch out for this temporary obstacle as they chartered flights through the region. A helicopter pilot and 3 family members were killed after colliding with said slackline near Telegraph Canyon. Could have been my wife. BBC reporting a plot to kill the Burkina Faso leader has been foiled. Captain Ibrahim Traore. Hold on. Extraordinary Iron Age war trumpet find in Britain may have Boudica links. What? A bronzed instrument, or carnix, dug up in Norfolk, an area inhabited by a Celtic tribe led by a warrior who fought the Romans. Okay. Only the third ever found, allowing it to be sounded to intimidate the enemy in battle. War horns. From The Guardian. Hey Sam, what's up? Let's see. Plenty of outlets showing clear as day evidence of the wanton murder in Minneapolis yesterday. What? Attorney for Rob Reiner's son resigns but says his client is not guilty of murder under state law. Yo, you know how Rob Reiner was killed? Rob Reiner and his wife was killed. I'm in the middle of a show, Sam. How I'm doing is irrelevant, brother. And obviously, yesterday an ICE agent killed an innocent person, and then last night there was a mass shooting in a Salt Lake City church. They're killing the Mormons. Two people were killed, several injured in a shooting during an altercation outside a funeral at a church in the Utah capital of Salt Lake City. Speaking of arguments had outside of a church, let me tell you about how white people act at a fucking church, at a funeral. I stopped attending fucking funerals because of how motherfuckers act at a funeral. Without naming names, I attended a funeral over 12 years ago, actually. It was like 2011 to 2012 or something like that. Okay? And had to drive a couple hours. And full stop, the funeral had to be held up because the wife was making a scene at the casket. If that doesn't sound like Erica Kirk, it happened within my own family. For an hour and a half, she wailed in front of it. They were divorced. You were just getting some money from him every month or something. And then, after it was over, I got a talking to by the men in my family for not just attending every funeral. And I explained those who I'm not with and in your presence while you're alive, I will not mourn you when you die. And they were like, "Oh, it's family. You're supposed to mourn them regardless." And haven't seen them since. So understand, everybody's got their like limits, and once you get past those, you're like, yeah, probably won't be attending fucking funerals. Okay, it'll be difficult for me to justify doing that. Okay, because they're fucking killing people right and left every single day who are far more worthy of mourning. Out in a parking lot or some sort of altercation, that's when shots are fired. 8 adult victims, 2 died, 3 survivors were critical. Launched a manhunt for the suspects, aimed to interview witnesses. Heard about the accident. Pilot was getting married that day. Sucks. But yeah, here's Reuters. Oh, I already posted that. Sorry. NASA is considering bringing back the ISS crew over a medical issue. A rare early return of its crew from the International Space Station. Well, I mean, think about it. They can technically say whatever they want, but they resigned, held a press conference. They're saying that he's not guilty of murder, and it's just like, what would you call it? Judge orders Lindsay Halligan. God. The face of MAGA, huh? Lindsay Halligan had no prosecutorial experience before she joined the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia as an attorney. Weird, right? But he quit? Yeah, he quit because he realizes he ain't winning that case. He's throwing a dog a bone. He paid me money. I'm going to grunt out here and say he's innocent. The White House has withdrawn the nomination of Ryan Bass for the FTC. Oh, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing at this point. I'm afraid to ask. White House is withdrawing its nomination of Ryan Bass for a Federal Trade Commission seat and instead naming him Deputy Director of the National Economic Council, elevating his role in shaping tech, telecom, and competition policy, a White House official told Reuters. Bash will serve as a deputy assistant to President Donald Trump and replace Robin Colwell at the NEC. Is Robin Colwell a man or a woman? We're gonna figure it out. NEC, sorry. Oh, it's a woman. Of course he did. The mayor of Minneapolis told ICE to get the fuck out after they killed a U.S. citizen. Unless he has health problems, do you understand why you don't fucking resign, Tim Waltz? Why thinly veiled attacks against your disabled child shouldn't fucking phase you, Tim Waltz? Protesters descended on the scene after an ICE agent shot a 37-year-old woman. Yeah, mayor was on fire. Yeah. Now, if only there was actual action that takes place, right? Insiders spill on Stephen Miller's daily yelling meltdowns. A scathing profile reveals that staff liken the immigration hardliner to Nazi leader who? Heinrich Himmler. Moscow airports are shut down over the Ukrainian drone threat. See, now it would make sense, right? Now that the Russian airports, Moscow airports are shutting down because of the threat of Ukrainian drones. Now it would make sense if Putin's residence gets attacked because there is precedent. There's something that happened before that your government did that let everyone know, oh, there's drones in the area. You had to shut down the Moscow airport. Check. Now, in order for any potential attack on the Putin's residence to be legitimate, there'd have to be locals hearing fucking drones and saying there are drones in the air. And once you have the airport closed down because of threat of drones, the locals are reporting drones in the air, you have two of three because you need physical evidence. You need to be able to see the fucking drones and put that on camera. Once you can hear them and see them and the third parties verify that they exist, now an attack on, say, Putin's home is a lot more legit, right? About that, you notice how that never happens. The Pittsburgh Post Gazette is shutting down in May. Traces its roots to 1786, when the Pittsburgh Gazette began as a four-page weekly, became a leading advocate for the abolition of slavery. Bears, Monsanto is suing Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna over mRNA technology. The patent infringement lawsuit says the company's copy technology developed by Monsanto in the 80s for strengthening mRNA in crops in order to stabilize the genetic material used in their vaccines. Moderna said the company is aware of the lawsuit and they'll defend themselves. Bayer was not involved in developing COVID-19 vaccines as does not make or sell any version of them. So they're just trying to cash in on something that they weren't a part of. What? This is a daily podcast where we discuss news and politics. We've been live every day for over a year, and we're not actually playing a game. God, the. Mm-mm. Cambodia has extradited the alleged scam mastermind to China. Has extradited to China a billionaire businessman accused of masterminding a vast cryptocurrency scam in which trafficked workers were lured to forced labor camps to defraud victims globally. So here's your future. If we don't get a fucking grip on this shit quick, we're gonna be slave labor running working scams. Not wholly unlike a lot of our jobs already. Police have arrested suspects after an armed heist at an airport believed to be Vanuatu's first organized robbery. I don't know why I'm smiling. It's like 2025 and these people are just now getting fucking robbed. That's great. I mean, it's not. It's not great. A person claiming to be a food delivery company whistleblower fooled the internet with AI's help. A Reddit user's viral post detailed purported secrets about an unnamed company, and then used NBC News' inquiry to further the ruse. Interesting. Interesting. Hilton Hotels has removed the Minneapolis franchise from its location after it again denied a DHS booking. So I don't know what's dumber. I don't know what's dumber. If you're the Department of Homeland Security and your reservations for a hotel in Minneapolis have been declined, why would you go back? You're clearly not wanted. So that doesn't make much sense. And then if you're Hilton, why would you double down punishing that location after the backlash from the first time you did that? What the fuck is happening? Just so you know, you reserve the right to refuse service to anyone at any time for any reason. We talked about how uh, Health and Human Services has freezed $10 billion in child care funding for five Democratic states, alleging fraudulent programs in California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and New York. Gabby said, I heard the Hilton guys in the Epstein files. Facts. I have no doubt. No doubt. Make sure we're not missing anything. That's a lot of news, kids. We've hit it a lot today. Minneapolis schools cancel classes after Border Patrol clash disrupts dismissal at a school? What's crazy is that Maduro's a dictator and the BBC is writing articles that say fear in the streets. Venezuelans are uncertain about what might happen next. Your dictator got literal removed. The president is so mad he didn't win the Peace Prize that he's suggesting invading Greenland as retaliation to NATO. Border Patrol in Minneapolis. Like, what the fuck is Border Patrol doing in Minneapolis? Why aren't you patrolling the border? President Trump spent a large part of his Wednesday morning ranting on Truth Social, with one of those rants concerning how helpless NATO is without him, how he ended 8 wars, and how he still deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, even though he swears he doesn't really care. Remember, for all those big NATO fans, they were at 2% GDP and most weren't paying their bills until I came along. The US was foolishly paying for them. I respectfully got them to 5% GDP and they pay immediately. Everything said that couldn't be done, but it could because beyond all else, they are my friends. Without my involvement, Russia would have all of Ukraine right now. Pompous much? Well, that capped it off for me. Did anybody else have any fucking questions? I know exactly why we're threatening to invade Greenland. It's because Donald Trump is a fucking child. Yeah, he didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize. Denmark will shoot first and ask questions later. The Telegraph reporting the Danish Defense Ministry confirms the 1952 rule of engagement requiring soldiers to attack invading forces. So it sounds an awful lot like Donald Trump's going to get American soldiers killed. The good news is literal all the eyeballs are on Minneapolis, as they should be in America. Uh, Again, I'm doing a poor job of this, but the shooting in Minneapolis, in my eyes, in a way it's being like perceived, reminds me of the Rodney King beating. And remember that before the LA riots, after the cops got off? It has the same sort of tinge. Obviously, I don't know the victim, so before you declare her your hero, might want to hold on to that. Okay? Wait till all the details come out. And I'm saying that not because I think that she was a provocateur at all, or that she deserved it at all. I'm just saying stay the love affair that you'll have with these people in mourning them. Stay that. That's all I'm asking. Mike Johnson says nobody is talking about military action in Greenland, despite Trump saying it was an option. So Tim Walz called up the National Guard and said we'll deploy the National Guard against ICE. We may still hear everything Jack Smith has on Trump. Representative Jim Jordan might have left an opening. Let's read from the New Republic. The American public may still have the opportunity to hear former special counsel Jack Smith's case against Donald Trump. Smith developed two cases against Trump, one into the MAGA leader's alleged retention of classified documents after he left the White House in 2021, and another into Trump's involvement in the January 6 riots. But both were dismissed after Trump won the 2024 election on the basis of a long-standing Justice Department policy that prevents the prosecution of a sitting president. And I want to make sure that I point out that that long-standing Justice Department policy is based on a fucking memo. Single sheet of paper. Don't prosecute sitting presidents. And we live by that. We don't need to be living by that. If you fuck up just this much, you fly cargo planes full of rubber dog shit out of Hong Kong. Remember that line? Right? Gotta play perfect. The investigator was invited by Republican Representative Jim Jordan for a closed-door session before Congress last month, giving Smith a platform that top Democrats surprisingly claim was the most advantageous to eventually charge Trump. Yeah, well, I left that closed-door deposition of Jack Smith and I said that Chairman Jordan's decision to do it behind closed doors was the best decision he ever made in his life because it was absolutely devastating for Donald Trump. And for those who still want to try to pretend as if he wasn't guilty of things, he was clearly guilty of these things. Raskin went on to argue that Trump has not evaded his charges because of any kind of innocence. What has allowed him to escape, Houdini-like, is the Roberts Court and the fact he's able to manipulate the levers of power to keep himself going. I mean, if you put, a fraction of that energy and try to actually do something for the American people, we might be in a different position in America today. But the economy, the society are basically in ruins because of the guy. But he's been able to stay afloat, even if it's overwhelmingly clear he engaged in an attempt to defraud the United States, disrupt this federal proceeding, and massively violate the voting rights of Americans by stealing an election. He wasn't trying to stop election fraud. He was trying to commit election fraud for several months. Yeah, we spent a long time talking about it. How she's clearly innocent. And then the U.S. is doing what you can't do. Okay? So you know how the U.S. military had been raising these boats and killing fishermen? And then circling back and killing the survivors? Now they're just leaving them to fucking drown. Somehow worse. Bela Fleck has canceled her Kennedy Center show. I don't know who that is, and I'm sorry. That Austin Peay State University, a theater professor will receive a $500,000 payout as part of a settlement. Following his firing in September due to comments he made on social media about conservative commentator Charlie Kirk. As a reminder, every time that man's name comes up, especially since he died, I'm going to remind you about the perils of free speech, in which I tell you, hey Gupta, in which I tell you the First Amendment just means that the government should not disrupt your right to free speech. Okay? What the First Amendment does not protect you from are consequences of your actions, like your speech. So understand, if you are constantly demonizing women, people of color, immigrants, and my LGBTQIA plus friends, and you open your mouth and insert your foot and are wrong-headed, seemingly on purpose, and divisive, seemingly on purpose, constantly, for years of your life, without any reason, really, other than the massive amounts of money he was making doing it, which is apparently a good enough reason. But it is important to understand, regardless of how Charlie felt while he was alive, he eventually leaned left, like everyone else does. Maybe he can get the Republican Party to put on shows for him. They could sit in the Kennedy Center with the lights off. The New Republic reporting, yeah, the Jeffrey Epstein scandal should never stop shocking us. And remember, what did we see yesterday revealed in the emails is that Jeffrey Epstein was trying to get Donald Trump in trouble. He was trying to rat on Donald Trump. A protest group called Hot Mess holds up signs. There's a protest group called Hot Mess. I want to support that. The relentless pummeling of the internet by the Epstein files is making for a winter of vertigo. Nearly every day we're reminded anew that the American ruling class is not just greedy and power hungry, but unspeakably depraved. It's miserable. And whatever reckless wag the dog distraction Attorney General Pam Bondi tries to stage with the coming show trial of the kidnapped leader of Venezuela, the Justice Department is still compelled by law to make the Epstein files public. So regardless of whatever else is going on in the fucking world, we're still owed these fucking Epstein files, and it's awful. And it's awful. It should never stop shocking you. A lot of people are saying now that he's not running for office, he can take Trump on head on without fear of losing future elections. Yeah, Jigsaw coming out on a tricycle, failing to juggle, and constantly hitting herself in the cheekbones or the forehead. Yeah. Actually, I just think Kristi Noem, clearly not a ventriloquist. What are the people that can just contort themselves into all different shapes and they just look like a skeleton wearing skin? That she could do that. George Conway, the pundit and Trump critic now running as a Democrat for Congress, on Wednesday criticized the new administration, saying it is being run like a mob operation. Hope you all have a great Thursday. About 10 minutes left. Republican warns Trump officials of prosecution over Epstein files. The Trump target told administration officials their Epstein problem is not going away. Love it. Contortionist. Thank you. She looks like someone that would twist herself up into a pretzel for pennies. Peanuts, if you will, to keep the circus theme going. Pam Bondi has quietly dropped the false claim that Nicolas Maduro was leading a drug cartel because Donald Trump made up the gang. I think that's a couple gangs Donald Trump has made up now. Tren de Agua, and there's another one. Hey, I just want to point out how insufferable he is. Donald Trump sulks about the Nobel Peace Prize as he threatens new wars. Marco's Dumbo the elephant. It's awful. Jamie Raskin saying it really is January 6th every day as the GOP is trying to break your brain. Ooh-wee! Science.org reporting Congress set to reject Trump's major budget cuts to the NSF, NASA, and energy science. Yuh. I told you he's a coward. He always chickens out over everything. He's a fucking piss baby. We deserve so much better. You deserve so much more of an emotionally intelligent man. Or person. Person. It could just be anybody. Just somebody that's like fucking Jesus. I was really nervous about NASA because of SpaceX. Oh God. New records reveal the mess RFK Jr. left when he dumped a dead bear in Central Park. Now I know why he's. It's like they all signed up for the same reason. That if they weren't protected by the president, they'd otherwise be being sued for all the fuck shit they did over the course of their life. Robert Kennedy Jr. left a bear's corpse in Central Park to be fun. Here you go. From Wired. That's fucked. And that guy's an elected official now. In a mystifying attempt. I mean, it is kind of funny now that I think about it. He did it as a gag to make it look like a cyclist killed the bear in a hit and run. I promise not to laugh. Stop. Stop fucking laughing. Improper. Why the fuck would you do that? As a gag. He did it. He did it for the hee-hees and the ha-has. Who are these people? The Donroe Doctrine is a scam, per the New Republic. If both Venezuela and Greenland, the Trump administration is proposing taxpayer-funded grabs of oil and rare earths so that Trump's billionaire allies can get even richer. So understand, who is driving the President of the United States to war with multiple countries, to destabilize other countries, to steal their resources and make them ours? Billionaires, big business, people like David Sachs and Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, Larry Page, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. Like I said this morning in a piece of content I made, there's like 8 fucking white dudes screaming. There are the people that are tied to them, like their wives and children, or the women that they pay for their presence. And then there are all the people that are just beholden to them. The interest of corporate elites. The Donroe Doctrine is a racket, nothing more, nothing less, designed to make the U.S. taxpayer underwrite resource imperialism for Trump's billionaire buddies. And drugs. Because somebody said pretty nicely the other day, if Donald Trump was concerned with the illegal drug trade, he wouldn't have pardoned someone convicted within the drug trade. Election deniers think the Venezuela attack is about the 2020 election. So I believe someone tried to say MAGA is saying Maduro helped Trump lose the election or some shit. I want to make sure I point this out. They're just jumping the gun and they're getting ahead of accountability by blaming someone else. When, if you look at the Smartmatic, we looked at the lawsuits. Dominion, we know the Republican Party is like this with Dominion, Smartmatic, in terms of like they're tied to them. So the people that are in denial about the 2020 election, which is fucking insane, bro. He's in power now. He won. What the fuck are you talking about that shit for? It's over. But they think now that the reason that Donald Trump captured Nicolas Maduro is because Maduro helped fucking Joe Biden win. Imagine having your brain all filled with fucking goo to a point where not only do you think that the the election was rigged in favor of Joe Biden by Nicolas Maduro, a fucking dictator. God damn it, you're dumb. You know what I'm saying? Like, how the fuck are you still in denial about 2020? And the thing about it is, there aren't that many people. Remember what I told you. A social media firm did an audit. Man, most of those people leaving shitty comments are bots. It's a bot. You're arguing with a robot on the internet. You can't even have a real conversation with someone without freaking the fuck out. And it's the 2024 election that was stolen. Yes. Listen to Eat the Rich by Aerosmith, and then we'll check the weather and get out of here. Okay? Yeah, every accusation's a confession. So just remember that when every accusation's a confession, remember, eventually you cut your own foot off. Remember I told you that. When every accusation is a confession, eventually you're cutting your goddamn leg off. Tornado on the ground in Oklahoma. Severe storms slam Oklahoma. Tornado watch issued for parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri until noon CST. Okay, so that's 1 p.m. Eastern. That's hours from now. All kinds of people could die. Oh my goodness. Hey, 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 hey. This is my country. Here, here. Look at the map. Look at the map. No fucking surprises. Adam Mockler Jubilee. Right? Mm-mm. Listen, listen, listen. People are gonna die. Okay. Now listen. In Washington and Oregon, there's shit going on. In L.A., there's probably like, I don't know, but there's heavy snow and 35-mile-an-hour wind gusts that are disrupting travel in the southern Rockies and Cascades, which again, not out of the ordinary. Utah, Colorado, um, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada. Or I already said Nevada. Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, Idaho, Utah. Um, but yeah, so normal weather, western, you know, third of the country. In the dead middle of the country, all of Kansas, some of about half of Oklahoma, all of Missouri, a little bit in Nebraska, and up into the Dakotas. Are There's a major storm. So think northeast Texas, east Oklahoma, all of Kansas, all of Missouri. Big ass storm system putting naders on the ground. Checks notes it's January. A storm capable of producing multiple tornadoes has already put a nadir on the ground, and there's 3 more hours. 3 more hours of storm development. Bob, think about you, buddy. Keep your head on a swivel, no fucking surprises, and there's nothing else. There's nothing east of this. But Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, um, Arkansas are gonna see this weather too. Okay, I'm more nervous about the weather than anything else, y'all. It's like 2012 out here. I mean, not for me. I live in Indiana, right? But